Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll analyze these graphs to find their characteristics. So let's start with the first graph. So as per the problem, examine the graph below and determine the amplitude, period, phase shift and vertical shift of each using cosine as the parent function. And then write an equation of the function. So as per the problem, we have to use the cosine function as the parent function. So as per the first graph, the maximum value of this function is 5 because that's the y value at the peak point. So max is equal to 5. Now the minimum value for this graph is negative 5. So that's the y value at the lowest point. So the minimum value is equal to negative 5. So now we can calculate the amplitude using the formula for amplitude, and the formula for amplitude is maximum value minus the minimum value divided by 2. So now we can sub in these values. So 5 minus negative 5 over 2, which is equal to, so 5 minus negative 5 is equal to 10. So 10 over 2, which is equal to 5. So that's the amplitude of this function. So the amplitude is 5. Now we have to find the period. And period represents the length of one full cycle for the function. Now in this graph, so the cycle starts at 0, 0 at the origin, and this cycle ends at pi. So that means the period of this function is pi. Now the next is phase shift. Now since we are using cosine function as a parent function, now we know that in a cosine function graph, the maximum is on the y-axis. But in this case, the maximum point has been shifted pi over 4 units to the right side. So that means there is a phase shift of pi over 4 units to the right side. So there's a very important concept we need to understand and memorize for cosine functions, that for a cosine function parent graph, the maximum value is on the y-axis. Now the vertical shift, so there is a formula for vertical shift, and vertical shift is equal to, so max plus minimum divided by 2. So now we can sum in these values. So 5 plus negative 5 over 2, and 5 plus negative 5 is equal to 0. So 0 over 2, which is equal to 0. So the vertical shift is 0. Now we can use this information to find the function of this transformed cosine function. Now the general equation of a transformed cosine function is y equals a, then cosine of b, and then parentheses x minus a, and then plus k. Now some teachers use different constants for this a, b, h and k that I use, but that doesn't change the process or the steps for finding the equation of the transformed function. Now in this case, a is equal to the amplitude value, which is equal to 5. Now b value is calculated from the period. So the formula for b is b equals 2 pi over period. And we know the period for this transformed function is pi. So we do 2 pi over pi, which is equal to just 2. Now the h value is the phase shift, and in this case phase shift is to the right side, so the h value is positive, so h is equal to pi over 4. And the k value represents the vertical shift. In this case there is no vertical shift, so k is equal to 0. So now we can sub in these values in this equation of the transformed cosine function to write the equation for this graph. So the equation will be y equals 5, the a value, then cosine, and then the b value is 2, and then parentheses, and then x, and then minus pi over 4, and then plus 0, but we don't need to do that because addition by 0 doesn't change anything. So this should be the final answer for the equation of the first graph. Now we can analyze the second graph. So we'll start by finding the amplitude, and for that we need the maximum and minimum values. So for this graph, the maximum value is at 3. So we can write here, so the maximum value is equal to 3, and the minimum value is -1. So now we can use the formula for amplitude. So amplitude is equal to, so max minus min divided by 2, which is equal to 3 minus -1 divided by 2. So 3 minus -1 is 4. So 4 over 2, which is equal to 2. So that's the value of amplitude. Now we can find the period. So the period is the length of one full cycle. Now in this case, we can see that the maximum value point is on the y-axis. So if we can find the distance from this maximum point to the adjacent or the next maximum point, and that distance will be the period. So the next maximum point occurs at x equals 2 pi. So in this case, the period is 2 pi because that's the distance between two adjacent maximum points. And then the phase shift. Now in this case, the highest point or the maximum point is on the y-axis. So there is no phase shift because this is the cosine function. So the phase shift is 0. Now for the vertical shift, we can use the formula. So vertical shift, and the formula is max plus minimum divided by 2. Now we can sub in the values. So the maximum is 3 plus -1 divided by 2. Now 3 plus -1 is equal to 2. So we get 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. So in this case, there is a vertical shift of 1 unit in the upward direction. Now we have to write an equation for this function, and we are given that we have to use the cosine function. So we'll start by writing the general equation of a transformed cosine function. So y equals a cosine and then b parentheses x minus h and then plus k. Now the a value is equal to the amplitude, which is equal to 2. And for b value, we'll use the formula, and the formula is b equals, so 2 pi, which is the period of a cosine parent function divided by the period. Now the period for this function is 2 pi, So we get b equals 2 pi over 2 pi, which is equal to 1. Now the h value, which represents the phase shift, so h is equal to 0. And then the k value, which represents the vertical shift, is equal to positive 1 because it's in the upward direction. So now we can write the equation for the function. So the equation is y equals, so the a value is 2 and cosine, and then the b value is 1, so we don't have to write it. So then we just write x, and then now there is no h value, so we don't even need to write the h, and then plus 1. So we can just rewrite this equation as y, I can write it here on the side, y equals 2 cos x plus 1. So this should be the final answer for the equation of the function represented by graph 2. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to solve a problem like this one. So it's very important to analyze the given graph carefully and identify the maximum value, the minimum value, and the period from the graph, and then do the required analysis to get the equation of the transform function. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.